Welcome to the Raging Hard On podcast. We're here to get raw and real and talk about our fucking feelings. You guys know the drill. Get the kiddos out of the car or don't, whatever. I'm your host, Brian Banks, and I am so happy to have Robin with me today. I've been following you on TikTok. I've been following your journey, and it has been funny. And it has been sometimes gut-wrenching and real and raw, and it's really meant a lot because we've sort of been going through things at the same time. So
Right.
Tell us a little bit about Robin and what led you to this journey of like therapy, healing. Like, who's Robin? We all know Robin from that one sound. About
Oh my
Candy
gosh,
Crush.
The Candy Crush sound. It's the sound that won't die.
It won't die.
Everybody used that sound.
Celebrities, like
These big Lenovo, a
Oprah.
couple of airlines used it. Jack in the Box used it recently.
Oh, did they really?
Yes.
Oh my God, it's so funny. So
It is a pretty funny one.
Robin is the one that during a depressive episode,
It's true.
she spent $87 on Candy Crush.
$87 in secret, like a little Candy Crush junkie that I was, just buying those.
Surely that was not the moment you said, I really need to seek professional help.
It should have been a clue that I should have. I uprooted my whole world and changed jobs, changed cities. And I think that what happened was I had been living in this routine, living this very routined life. And it kind of helped keep all of that at bay a little bit.
Yeah.
When I changed my routine, when I changed my life so drastically, I think being rocked by just normal life events that would rock anybody, it just gave all of that trauma an opportunity to surface in a big way.
I mean, you made some really big changes.
Huge. I moved to this city, it's almost 2 years ago. Left the home I had been living in for a long time, left a job that I loved, and again, the routine of it. So, which is where the neurodivergence comes into play, but the trauma as well. I didn't realize that, I had such control over my environment and my stimuli that when I didn't have control over that situation anymore, it just, in a big, scary way, came up.
And not only leaving a city, you came out.
I did come out
And that is...
on TikTok. Because that's how we do it now, right?
And TikTok, I mean, don't you feel like you're talking to no one? Like you're talking to yourself.
I do, which is one of the things that
Until
gets
you
me
start
in
getting the
trouble.
notifications and you're like, oh, shit.
100%. I'm just babbling to myself in my house, and then something,
Which
like,
is
oh yeah,
the relatable
people can
part.
see this.
So you had never been a lesbian before?
I had had a couple of experiences with women back in my early 20s, but I cannot tell you. I just knew I liked it. I didn't know why, really. And no, it wasn't until 2020. And I'll tell you, it's TikTok. TikTok did it to so many of us.
Well, I mean, I have watched some lesbians on TikTok and thought, am I? Like, I mean, there's a few that I'm like, I spent my whole life like trying to come to terms with liking boys, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wait, what? What's this feeling?
Listen, those masked lesbians on TikTok.
Yes, and I mean, some of them bite their lip and give you that eye, and you're like, whoa.
It stirs something deep within. I know.
It's I've questioned myself a couple times, and my best friend is a lesbian and her wife, and I'm like, why do I like this? Like,
Right.
They think that's so funny, but yeah, it's
Well, it was like June of 2020, when COVID was big and scary and bad. And I was getting in fights on Facebook every day. I was still on Facebook at the time. And I was just fighting with people from my hometown every day on there, calling them morons. And that's so embarrassing. But, and this friend of mine was like, girl, you need to get off that website and you need to download TikTok.
They'll like you more there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I downloaded TikTok and literally immediately my FYP was masked lesbians. I mean, I downloaded that app and I started scrolling and it took me about 48 hours of watching videos to go,
That, I think I'm one of these.
yeah.
Did you hear about that a lot with women? That I guess for us guys, we're such visual learners. Like, there don't have to be a lot of emotion behind it. Just, I mean, yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what
But
you mean.
with women, I think there's.
Yeah, I'm looking at your beautiful portraits behind you. I get what you're saying.
But I think for women, it's deeper than that. It's, I'm sure, like, I can't speak for women. But yeah, for us, we're simple. Like, boys are real simple. I mean, you've seen men lose beautiful wives over like a hole in a tree stump, you know? I mean, they don't care.
Yeah, it's so true.
So you knew, and then you started talking?
Well, I just talked about it on TikTok a lot. And then there was one instance I was in a Publix, again, during the pandemic, and I was masked up and, I encountered this woman that I felt it was highly likely that she was a lesbian. And I tried to flirt a little bit 6 feet apart in a Publix while we were masked up. And I do feel like it kind of went somewhere, but it terrified me. I was like, oh, shit, now what do I do? But it gave me a little courage. I was like, I think she was flirting with me a little bit. And then, shortly after that, I met the first woman that I was in a relationship with. And it was just over after that. I was like, oh, goody. Now I get to put this into practice.
Yeah, that's a big change. That's not just moving.
Correct.
That's not just moving towns.
Correct.
I mean.
Correct. It was a lot of life change.
So you moved here. The things started coming up.
I just shut down, fell apart, and didn't know why. I was angry all the time at everything, at everybody. I hated everything. I hated myself. It was not a good time.
Had this ever happened? Like,
not to this extent.
no.
Like, not where I couldn't come back around.
Yeah.
But remember, it was different, a completely different situation. I didn't know how to regain control over my environment, my autonomy. I didn't know how to do that. I was losing it, kind of, honestly.
Yeah, I went through a period with my ex, like, after my son was born, and I just turned into a monster. Like, a monster. And I couldn't control feelings, and it was so out of the blue for me, because I'd been such a people pleaser.
Yes.
And a good boy my whole life.
Yes.
And suddenly it all started unraveling. At home, in public, I was still a good people pleaser. I mean, I could have a fight with him and then go in public and turn it on like a politician so fast. But I reached out to a therapist myself. I called her and she's like, what's the issue? And I was like, I've turned into a monster. I don't recognize me. And yeah, that's when the work started 15 years ago.
Wow.
And you do some of the work and you get comfortable again.
Sure.
Like, you take yourself far enough to feel okay.
Sure.
Because I don't think you can take healing all at once.
No, I fully agree with that. And I think I did initially in the beginning, which is, I think I fell apart even more right after I started therapy. So, yeah, I think it has to come in bits and pieces when the brain is ready to accept new information and process new information.
I think the thing I'm starting to realize is when you start getting super uncomfortable, life starts not feeling good anymore.
Right,
When
right,
everything is just fucking off.
right.
I'm learning to sit back and go, okay, universe, where is it you're trying to take me? Because it makes you so uncomfortable that change is inevitable.
Yes,
And
yes.
the more you fight it,
Yes.
the more uncomfortable it's going to get.
Yes.
And it's almost like, how uncomfortable do you have to get to change this thing?
Yes.
And yeah, I don't think we're meant to do it all at once. And I wish, I'm like you, I wanted to call somebody. I wanted to go like smoke ayahuasca or
Yeah.
like trip on shrooms so hard that I woke up and I was like, I'm good.
Yes, I'm
And
good to
the
go.
therapist was like, that's not how it works. Like, that's great. You want to do that. And I'll support it. But yeah. So what led you to therapy? Like,
Truthfully, I wanted to die. I mean, I was ready to die. I had myself a nice little plan, and yeah, it was scary.
oh, wow.
Because I was just so tired of it, and I was emotionally tired, weary, I guess is the right word. I was weary, and I just was pushing everybody away. I mean, you said you became a monster. I relate to that. I was just living in this trauma response, constantly overstimulated, unable to function. And I just was so tired. And I just knew that if somebody doesn't help me now, this could be not good.
So did you share like with anybody that you had planned this out or?
I actually don't know that I've ever said until today that I actually had a plan. People get twitchy when you talk about this.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. I understand that.
Well, because you don't want to be the trigger.
Right.
You don't know how to respond, and you watch videos, and they're like, "This is how you deal with it." But I think the thing I'm learning is you just show up.
Yeah, sure.
Just show up.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't want to be the one to say the wrong thing when somebody tells you they're having those thoughts, and we're laughing about it. But it's true.
No, it is true. And two, I think a lot of us who have been in this position have said something to somebody once or twice, and that person has just responded in such a way that you're like, oh, well, I'm never bringing this up again. Never mind. Just kidding.
Yeah, and it's when you get in those places, it's so dark. Yeah, it's like you don't want to bring somebody else in there. I mean, I've been there
Yeah.
a couple times in my life.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I have thought the same thing. I am so grateful that I did not do what I wanted to do that night. I am so grateful.
So you reached out to the therapist yourself?
Yeah, I know I had some help. I can't tell you even now who got me the numbers or the name of the clinic, but it's a clinic here in town. And I called, they got me in immediately, and they were the first people, after years of seeing doctors, telling them my story, talking about trauma, but not calling it trauma because I didn't know that.
Right.
That they said the words, or they said PTSD to me. Nobody had ever mentioned that to me before. And that was
And where was it? Was it coming from childhood or?
So remember we talked about how things might come up that are not so pretty. It's not pretty, but I was 16 and taking a night class because I was not doing well in algebra during the day and I didn't want to fail the grade. And I was kidnapped from that parking lot and assaulted. as a 16-and-a-half-year-old person, a child. And, that was 1990. There was not, if you think today about the kind of resources that are there for people that are assaulted in that way and how much we are lacking in those good services, imagine
It wasn't part of the
1990.
conversation back then.
No.
We were still scared we were going to fall into a well
Yes.
on somebody else's property
Yes.
and nobody was going to find us.
100%.
Like,
And
we
so,
weren't talking about
no,
sexual assault, or we weren't talking about any of those things back then.
no. And it was it did to me what obviously you would think it would do to a person. And there was not a ton of therapy. After that, it was just kind of, well, let's just move on. Everybody watch Robin for a little while.
So did you realize it had affected you?
No. And I would hear stories like that happening to other people, and I would be horrified. And I would think, oh, my God.
Like, feel bad for them.
Yes.
But not associate
Rail at the
with it.
injustice of that a person can hurt another person in that way. But it never connected with me that what I had was years and years and years of just trauma responses, walls built up, all I didn't know. And my therapist said something to me one day about how the trauma is not necessarily the event, but the trauma is what happens after the event. And that resonated with me so clearly because absolutely, I was invited to leave school by the principal because it was such a thing at my school that this had happened to me.
So they wanted you to leave?
They did want me to leave because my rapist was someone who went to my high school with me. I should have...
Did they want them to leave?
No. Remember, it's 1990. Remember what they did to Monica Lewinsky?
Yeah. Yes.
It's always the girl's fault, always the woman's fault.
Oh my gosh.
And so I never dealt with that ever. That's a formative age to be violently shoved into a vehicle and driven to a location and assaulted and in the dark at night.
You knew the person though? Like, were y'all...
No, I didn't. I did not even realize that he was a bigger guy. And no, I didn't even realize. It wasn't until maybe a couple of days later that it started coming out. They, because there were two of them. I forget about this one because one of my rapists was murdered about a week after the rape and in a separate incident. And I forget about him a lot. I don't know why. The trauma, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do tend to focus because we went to court. There was a whole... My parents forced me to press charges. I went through the whole testifying, the rape kit, all of that. And no, I never dealt with it. And I just spent decades being so angry.
Did anybody, did your parents talk to you about it? Like, really talk to, you about what you were feeling? Or?
No. And they didn't. My mama had me when she was young. My parents were
But they were angry and
yes,
wanted justice.
Yes, in a big way. Well, they just wanted to protect their baby. In their minds, they had failed protecting me.
Well, and back then, I went through some sexual abuse when I was a kid. And one of the things that happened afterwards was the adults got quiet.
Right.
When I got brave enough to tell them, everybody got quiet. And as a child, you think, oh, nobody cares.
Right.
When in reality, the adults were talking about it together, privately, because they thought including me in the conversation would be too much.
Sure.
But instead, what I took on was that nobody was talking about it.
Oof.
And so I it added to the trauma.
Right.
Because I thought, well, I was scared. Because he had threatened to kill me if I ever told anybody. And it had gone on for years. And then when I finally was brave enough to tell them, they didn't kill me, but they didn't talk about it either.
Right.
Because that was his thing. He would tell me, they're going to kill me when they find out what I've done. It was my fault. And so I finally just couldn't do it anymore. And I told my parents. And now as a parent, I'm older. I realized they were having those conversations without me. But I was taking it in like, does anybody care? Like, is anybody talking about this? Because they didn't include me. Right. So I just wonder. I made that about me.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because they're trying to protect us.
Yeah.
Golly.
With everything that they are equipped with, which is not much.
No.
And as a parent, you realize it's really not much.
Yeah. And we've had like therapy, and we know more today than our parents did back then. So, yeah, I was really angry with them for a long time, really angry. And somewhere over the last couple of years, I just kind of, well, since I've been in therapy, I just kind of learned to forgive them. And it wasn't even a moment where I said, you know, I officially forgive my parents. But it's just one day I realized, oh, I'm not really angry at them anymore. Thank goodness.
Yeah, because I think a lot of misplaced anger, misplaced hurt. I mean, you know, I've said before that we expect our parents to be godlike. I mean, these 17-year-old kids that got drunk and had sex and didn't pull out, we expect them to magically be so wise.
Right. These capable.
They were not.
Yeah,
and then you become a parent and you're like, oh, show me some grace. Like, I'm so little. But yeah, I think for me, like you get to the age of, you remember your parents being that age.
Yes.
When I was growing up, people would go, oh, you look just like your dad. And I was like, I do not. But now that I'm this age, I remember my dad being this age. And I do.
Right.
You know, but I can look at my son and go, I remember looking just like that.
Right.
But he doesn't think he looks like me.
Well, no, of course not.
You know, but,
not yet.
So you get into therapy, you start going through the trauma, because I've been watching you work through like some really deep things, like some really beautiful things to learn about this life. This life is short.
It is so short.
And I love that you are unapologetic and off the fucking wall sometimes.
Yeah,
and it's so refreshing.
I
love it. Like, you will say the things that we think, or I assume everybody thinks it. Maybe it's just us. But
I used to think that I was the only one that thought that. And then TikTok has taught me that no, that's not true at all.
Some real messed up folks out here.
We're all just winging it. And so many of us are traumatized and don't even know it. We're just going through our lives.
The fact that you disassociated all those years.
Yeah, right.
And then it came up.
Right.
So how did you figure out they were connected?
Well, I had to look at the different points in my life and where the trauma would have come from. And that's actually a really good question. I mean, for that to have happened to me at that particular age, and I was not the same after that. I was never the same after that. It changed me completely. And so I get to therapy, and I have my little intake appointment, and she says, hey, there's this support group, this group therapy. I'd love for you to come. And I was so desperate for it and so hungry for some help that I was like, sure, I'll be there. So I go and I sit down, and they pass out these papers to everybody, and I look down and it said PTSD on the top of it. And I was like, oh, so I start looking around, and I'm thinking there must be a different support group, a second support group, because I came to the wrong one. And then I looked further down, and it was a list of symptoms of PTSD. And I started reading the list, And about halfway down, I said, oh my God.
How did I catch this?
Oh my God. Like it was like somebody that knew me, wrote a list down of all of my behaviors, all of my fears, all of my stuff.
So what were some of those signs of PTSD?
Well, angry all the time, disordered eating, black and white thinking, a need to have control over things.
Oh, wow.
The list, like if we Googled the list of symptoms, that's what it was.
All of those things, all the things.
And it was truly probably the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Now, looking back.
So
how did that first group therapy session go?
I ate it up. I had very little resistance to therapy, to what they were teaching me, to the information they were offering me. Like once they said, girl, this is what we think it is. And I said, oh, dang, I think you're right. And I got the ADHD diagnosis, which obviously made all kinds of sense too. Untreated, undiagnosed ADHD all of those years. I was so hungry for that I ate it up from the get-go almost.
I mean, just to have answers to, like something's different.
Yes.
Thank goodness my family doctor spotted the ADHD.
Nice.
Like right at the end of high school.
Nice, good.
That is life-changing when you learn why some of those things.
Now, are you medicated for your ADHD?
Absolutely.
Are you?
Yes. If I'm not,
right.
I look like a raccoon in a trash can if I don't take my medicine.
Right.
Just throwing stuff and.
So I'm not medicated for my ADHD.
So what do you do?
I do my best to lean on coping skills. And sometimes I wake up and my symptoms are really strong, and I usually just roll with it. I'm like, okay, radical acceptance of, well, my brain is firing this way today, so.
Oh, yeah. I've been medicated since back then.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that'd be a learning process.
Do you ever miss your medication and have a day where you're like,
no.
Oh, I hear
Because
you.
I'm medicated,
Right.
I am the most predictable human in the world when it comes to taking my medicine. It's in, now if I missed it for a few days, I mean, I wouldn't have a job or
Right.
a house or.
I hear you.
I mean, I'd be lost somewhere. I mean, I'd need a tracking device. It's really bad.
Just
but
try la 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 la.
Did you try medicine?
No,
for yours?
I've never tried it. The more I go along, the more I've thought about it.
Did you ever read the book, I'm Not Lazy? I think it's like, I'm Not Lazy, Crazy, or I want to say Stupid.
No.
But it is a book explaining, because those are the things we hear growing up.
Yes.
Quit being lazy.
Right.
And, or just feeling like you're not smart enough. But yeah, that book was eye-opening. And it talks about being medicated and how medication is a tool.
Absolutely.
You still got to learn to cope.
Right.
And you still got to learn to pull yourself together in some situations. So yeah, that book was.
Which is crappy. I think there should be a pill for that makes me not have to pull myself together sometimes.
That's what mine does. It pulls me together. And
I mean, I take an antidepressant. I actually take 2.
And that helps.
Honey. Yes, it helps.
And we are not medical doctors by any means.
No.
Y'all figure this stuff out with your doctor. We're just telling our stories.
No, but for me, my pharmaceuticals keep me alive.
Yeah.
And I can tell, because if I miss a couple of days, I start.
But that takes having a good relationship with your doctor and, being able to have conversations.
Right.
A lot of people don't trust their doctors. Or they can't just say what they need to say to their doctor.
Right.
And,
no, that's so true.
if they don't have all the facts.
Now, I'll tell you, I went in Crying. Full waterworks. Extremely underweight because I was not eating. Like when he saw me, there was very obviously, there's also, the factor of my age that goes into it because perimenopause, the changing of these hormones plays a part in all of that too. And, he was happy to write me out Lexapro. He's like, I would have given you that had you not asked for it. Because I'll be honest, I went in and I said,
This is what you're doing today.
yeah, this is what I need from you today. He is a wonderful listener. And it wasn't that he just wrote it without a care. We did have a long conversation, but that evidently is, a pretty widely prescribed
I think
pharmaceutical. And, it saved my life.
So you started doing that group therapy. Do you still go to the same group therapy?
I cannot now because I got a job that lets me miss it. Now, rumor has it they're talking about changing the day of it.
Oh, that'd be cool.
If they could change it to Mondays, but except for tomorrow, she didn't have anything tomorrow, but I go to therapy every single Monday morning at 9 o'clock. I start my week with it every single week.
So you've been with the same therapist this whole time?
This whole time.
That's awesome.
And she's amazing.
You don't always find the best therapist. I actually did an episode with a professor that he has his doctorate and he's a professor in counseling, and we had a talk about finding a therapist. Like that can be tricky.
It can be. It can be.
The trauma in you makes you want to run from all of them.
Yes, it's
so you got to figure out, is there like facts behind these feelings?
That's it. The facts behind the feelings. That's it.
Because it can't be just because you told a deep dark secret,
right?
Why you leave that therapist,
right?
But some just aren't matches, especially for those of us in the queer community.
That's right. I got very fortunate that I love her. Her name is Rashmi. She is incredible. The first few times I went to see her, I had to wrap my head around her being the most positive human being that I have ever met in my entire life. Because you see, in the beginning, I was real dark. I was dark and stormy and angsty and the world. And her constant positivity was like annoying a little bit. But once I kind of melded and we started meshing together, that has been a beautiful relationship. I really like her a lot.
And so you did the therapy and started doing what are some of the practices you started doing to get through the anger and the emotions, and how did you come about like figuring that part out?
The kind of basis of what we talk about there is what is in my control and what is not. The thing that is in my control is me. I don't want to live angry. I don't want to hate everything. I deserve to live in a way that is loving and feels love. All of that stuff. And the work started working. What is in my control? What is not? What are the facts behind some of the thoughts that I'm having? I love that you said that because that is a question I ask myself all the time.
Yes.
EMDR. I have been doing EMDR for like 6 months now.
I've heard about that. Do you do like the tapping thing or the?
I do some tapping, but it's weird. I was so skeptical of it.
I hear so much about it. I've never done it. My therapist, the reason I started going there is because they said I needed to do that. But she's like, nah, you're good.
Oh.
So it's been a really good relationship with this therapist.
So do you still go regularly?
Uh-huh.
I hear you.
I do.
Because the maintenance therapy,
yes,
I have realized in the last month or so why that's so important.
So with EMDR, they try to trigger all your trauma and then tap you?
Yeah, 100%. It's like it's a little bit like word association. And there's a way that she moves her hand. You stare at a certain point on her hand And it's just feeling your feelings and using word association to go from one place to another. And I was so skeptical of it. I purposefully did not look up anything about it before I did it because I know myself too well. I'm too skeptical. And I just was convinced it had to be some kind of woo-woo. I don't care what it is.
I like a little woo-woo.
It works for me.
I do like woo-woo. Like, if you're a psychic and you tell me you can see, I want to know.
Yeah, no, me too.
I'll try to make it work. I'll try to make it facts. Like, I like some woo-woo.
I like anything that helps me, whatever that is. And if it's woo-woo, but EMDR, there have been 2 times now that we have actively had an EMDR session to process some things in advance. And within about 2 days, those things have happened. And I have been able to tell that my reaction to those events is measured, calmer. There's this neutral place I talk about all the time, this neutral place that I like to stay in. It helped me get back to neutral a little bit better. I think it's fascinating. It's for processing trauma. And so if she says that you're good, I mean, how cool is that?
Well, I mean, when I started with her, I was this second round of the universe making me uncomfortable as fuck. I was like, I found myself on the side of the road, just beating the steering wheel, crying. I was a mess. And I'm laughing about it now because I'm like really feeling sorry for myself and the things that happened when I was a child and just bullying. And I am screaming. And I look up and there's a deer standing in front of the car. And he kind of cocks his head like, fucking humans. Yeah. And I just busted out laughing. And I started going to her and thought I needed to work through all these things. And then I found this book about gay shame. And I did 30 years of therapy in that one book.
That's amazing.
To the fact that I showed back up to therapy and she went, what has happened? Like, what have you done?
Incredible.
She took the book and read it the next week. And she was like, oh, wow. Like, and I realized like so much was from growing up gay, trying to pretend I wasn't, and then building this person that was so likable and so acceptable. And you had to have the best house. You had to, everybody had to want to sleep with you. Just all the things that made you feel really validated. And I was a validation junkie.
I get it.
Who couldn't get high on it anymore.
Right.
And
I feel
the drug
that
wasn't
so hard.
working. And so, yeah, like I go to her about this. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm excited about the podcast. And she's like, this is great. Like, why are you doing it? And I was like, well, I sit at night and I think, am I just trying to be validated? Am I just wanting attention? And, you know, part of the book at the end when it talks about you get to this stage in your life where you're desperately seeking authenticity.
Right.
And that's going to take vulnerability and all the scary words.
Right.
And you get to a point that your life has to have purpose. And this is about sharing stories.
Yes.
That I want to hear.
Yes.
And I want to share. And I want to... And so I keep myself in check, and I try not to check how many views.
I get that.
Because that's a trap. I know with you, like I'm sure your phone is going off nonstop.
You know, I actually don't have any notifications turned on my phone, like any. And I try really hard to, like when I'm somewhere, set it down or not be obsessed with... I try really hard anyway to do that.
It is hard.
It is.
Because it's human nature. And like I said, validation your whole life is a drug.
Yeah.
But I show myself grace too, where It's okay.
It is okay.
It's okay, and I love myself. And
I love
part of
that.
loving yourself is like reparenting. And yeah, sometimes you have to tell yourself, hey, that's enough. And that's love.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to tell yourself, hey, you'll do better tomorrow. And that's love, you know?
You're so right.
It's not about infatuation with yourself. It's about, I learned that 15 years ago therapy when my trauma was coming up. And my therapist constantly said, do you love yourself? I'd be like, yeah, like, let's move on. Like, I'm not that person.
Right.
But after hypnosis and all these things, I sit up one day after hypnosis, and she went, remember when I asked you if you loved yourself? And I was like, yeah. She's like, when's the last time you put the chips down and realized it was just feelings?
Yeah.
When's the last time you ate the whole bag of chips and told yourself, it's okay, you're still a good person, and you'll do better tomorrow? She was like, I know without a doubt you love your child. Now you got to love you like you love your child. And it was...
That's a tough one.
Oh, do I love my... That's what the fuck you meant. Like, no, I don't love myself at all.
As a matter of fact.
If you put it like that, I thought we were talking about... No, like...
As a matter of fact, I've been hating me for a while.
Yeah, like, I was like, fuck that kid. But no, she was like, you know, I know you love this child of yours.
Right.
And that's what the hypnosis was. She is hypnotizing me, and I'm in a dark place. I know this is not supposed to be about me, but
no, I want to hear.
Y'all are used to it by now.
I want to hear about hypnosis.
And I was like, she goes, picture yourself in this dark abyss, and a light comes on across from you, and it's your child. Go to him. And I'm imagining all this, of course, and then she's like, really look in his eyes. Like, what do his eyes do when he gets excited? And I'm like, she's like, get nose to nose. What do the corners of his mouth do when he's sad? Like, really look at this child. Look at his eyebrows. Do his eyebrows raise when he's scared, or do they drop? And I'm like looking and imagining, and she snaps, and she's like, that's not your child. That's you. You're 8 years old. Why are you crying?
Oh, my
and
gosh.
all this shit starts coming up.
Right.
Like out of nowhere. Like I am a mess. And she tells me, she's like, I want you to reach out and grab little Brian's hand, squeeze it, and tell him to calm down. Stop this. Like there's no reason for him to act like this. You are your child's dad, and you're going to take care of him now. He can trust you. And she's like, say it. She's making me say it out loud.
Gives me chills.
And I'm like, calm down. Like, there's no reason. And I'm literally verbalizing this. And then I sit back up, and she goes, that's what I meant by do you love yourself? Like, because I started like screaming, nobody will listen to me. And I'm crying. And because I thought nobody was listening.
Right.
And I didn't know how to control that emotion when I felt invalidated, or when my partner ignored me. Like, if you want to ignore me, like, I'm on you. But on the same token, if you become clingy, I'm running. Like, that's why.
Be calling me out.
Why can't you just be in the middle?
I know, I get it.
Because that's where healthy people live, in the middle.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm learning this time.
Yeah. Well, and that trouble, that relationship thing about what you were just talking about when somebody gets clingy, but if they ignore me, I relate to that so hard. And that is, you know, one of those symptoms of PTSD too.
I want to be loved. I want to be close to you, but not that close and not that loved.
Right.
But don't run away, because I still want to be loved, and I still want to be close to you. So like, just do what I'm saying, or what I'm thinking. Like, I'm not even gonna say it. Just figure it out. So,
Read my mind,
so that's,
and then perform accordingly.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy.
But it's so powerful to start realizing where that's coming from.
100%, yes.
And what are the facts, and what are the feelings, and also to realize that feelings are temporary.
That part.
So temporary.
Yeah, that part.
And that we're not going to be stuck in sad if we get sad, and it's okay. Like, feel the feeling.
Yes. Yes.
Now, your response to the feeling, that could be permanent.
It absolutely could be. And, you know, sometimes I want to feel it a little bit. You know, sometimes I feel the sad and I'm like,
Sometimes I want everybody else to feel it with me.
I'm going to lean into it a little bit. I want to feel it a little bit.
I love a sad movie.
God.
Like,
And a good cry. I love a good cry.
Like, I'll be on TikTok and I'll just cry. And I'm like, am I having a... Like, what is going on with my hormones right now?
It's the perimenopause. It's getting all of us.
It's getting me. But yeah, it was... yeah, I like a emotional movie. I like a comedy.
Yeah.
But, like, don't put me in something intense.
No.
Like,
No.
Don't kidnap anybody.
No. No.
I can't even sit still. I just pace the floor while those movies are on.
Yeah.
And I'll have to get up at the theater and, like, go in and out.
I was having an issue in a relationship where my partner loves watching that kind of stuff. Crime stuff.
I love a crime
Murder
one.
stuff.
I don't want to see the crime happen, though.
Yeah. All of that stuff makes me so tense. But that was an issue in our relationship because I want to watch 30 Rock again for the 17th time.
Yeah.
You know, the L word is about as intense as I can get. I don't want to watch, like you said, intense stuff, scary stuff, things that, because I have enough going on up here that I have to try to stay regulated and stay in this neutral space. The less I add into my brain that takes me out of that neutral space, the better. I didn't know how to say that, though. I didn't know that's what it was, and I didn't know how to say that.
Yeah, I love to feel, though.
Oh, no, same.
But, you know, I don't want that adrenaline rush like I'm in the middle of trauma happening.
No.
But I do want to, like, I want to cry. I want to leave a movie and feel motivated to change the world.
Yes.
I'm not going to, but I want to feel like I could.
I want to live every day feeling like I felt after I watched Walter Mitty the first time.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it.
Brian,
Who's in it?
who's the guy? Ben Stiller?
What's it about?
Well, no, you got to watch
Walter
it.
Mitty.
Walter Mitty.
I'm going to watch it.
And it's something like the life of Walter Mitty. It will make you want to, like, double up on your recycling. It is such a good, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll make you want to just
I
be
love
a better
that.
person.
What was that one when we were younger? Pay It Forward.
I've never seen that.
Oh, well, I mean, it's got that one guy in it now.
Bad guy.
It's a Me Too guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
But so many of the movies from back then, that's how it
know.
is.
I know. And we don't even know, like, what's what anymore.
No.
I'm so grateful for that movement to give voices to people, but it came on so strong that we're like, holy shit, everybody was in this.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it frankly has made me to where I'm like more surprised if somebody's not a creep.
Oh, he's actually good.
Like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a decent human being. What a nice change.
I mean, there are people out there that are trying to take everybody down too. So you're just like,
right.
Thank God for therapy.
I'm so thankful for therapy. I love it so much.
Some things we can't control.
That's it.
And you know, one of the coolest TikToks I saw you do was when you talked about your grandparents and how two things can be true at the same time.
Right.
That was like,
Right.
okay, yeah,
Right.
yeah. I really loved all your TikToks. I want to do a fun little section where can you take some hard ones? I think I left my questions over there.
Oh, I would love to take a hard one. I love this. I love these pillows too.
I have to have pillows.
Yeah, I'm a big pillow person myself. How many pillows do you sleep with on your bed?
I get 4, and Michael gets 4.
Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
But we have to put some under the stool at the foot of the bed so that the bed looks normal.
Yeah.
Or you've got way too many pillows.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but, I mean, let's be honest. Like, that bed only looks like that when people are coming over.
No, I get that too.
Yeah, so some days I like to change the sheets every week.
Yes, me too.
I know some people are going to be like, every week, or there was a time I changed them every month, like every year. Who cares?
Yeah, I've been there too.
I grew up po.
Yeah,
So
that's one of my Sunday rituals.
that was
is
not
changing my sheets.
always our big thing to do.
Right.
So this is, can you take some hard ones, and I'm just going to pop off some questions
Okay.
and let you answer them.
Okay.
Are you a good person?
Yes.
What makes you a good person?
I genuinely care about the well-being of the people around me and the people of the world. I genuinely
that.
want to do whatever the thing is to make somebody feel good, be good.
When is the last time you felt the most joy?
I felt a pretty good amount of joy today.
This was fun.
This is a good amount of joy. I'm also pretty good at finding the joy kind of every day.
That's a practice.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
Do you do a gratitude journal or anything?
No, I don't do a gratitude journal. I have gratitude rituals that I participate in.
How do you do that?
Well, like the washing and drying of the sheets every Sunday. I have this thing in me where I'm acutely aware of how lucky I am, how fortunate I am, rather. I like that word better. That I can go back to my little room that's my bedroom, pull these beautiful sheets off my bed, walk and wash them and dry them in this clean water. I don't know, there's this, how many people would give anything?
Yeah, like just to be in the present and not, that's something I'm learning, is not always looking for the thing that's coming
100%
or the thing that
correct.
happened.
Yes.
But just being in the present.
Yes.
And yeah, I have my practice. Sometimes I'm just sit in the living room and watch my crazy husband outside in a wig or wearing high heels around the pool with his camera set up doing a TikTok, and I'm like, I love him.
I love that.
And I'm so grateful to be doing this with him.
Right.
You know, and yeah.
And I think I use TikTok as my gratitude journal. I talk about things a lot on there that I'm thankful for and grateful for. So it's kind of like my
just being in a place of gratitude.
Yes.
It changes
Yes.
everything. Just taking the time to really be grateful.
The closer I can stay to a grateful state, the easier it is for me to stay neutral, the easier it is for me to be a functioning, happy human being. All stems from being in that grateful state.
I'm a little woo-woo about it. I think the more you can stay in a grateful state, the more the universe can give you to be grateful for. I really feel like we are the authors of our present.
I like that.
And I feel like the universe can like vibrate to that frequency.
I love that.
If you stay on that frequency. And that's where the good stuff comes.
Well, I mean, I've got all this good stuff coming at me, so, you know.
But I do. I think that's like to be in that place of gratitude opens us up to be able to receive.
That. Yes, that.
Because all the good's out there. I'm off track again. Every dollar you're ever going to make is in circulation right now.
Right. Right.
The person that you are going to fall madly in love with has already been born.
Right.
They're already walking around. So you got to put yourself in a place for those things to come to you.
Yeah, no, that is so true.
So they're already out there. I
Right.
think just having that epiphany that everything I could ever want, need, it's out there.
Yes.
It's already in creation. It's already in circulation. It's already out there.
I love that.
Yeah. So
That's going to be on my mind. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, because when you have thoughts of inadequacy or there not being enough of something, I think that's the place I got to in money that changed my life, is that money's really easy.
Right.
There's a lot of it out there.
Right.
And it takes very little to go out there, and just bring $1 in.
It's so interesting that you say that, because I've literally been thinking about a scarcity mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And when that feeling, it puts you in a place of a desperation and there's no way to stay in a grateful state if you're coming at things from a scarcity mindset.
No. And, one of the things that I do is I will say, this podcast is going to be amazing. People are going to love it and they're going to listen to it. But if they don't, that's okay.
Right.
And the universe is like, what the fuck do you want?
Right.
You want it to be great or you don't? Like, make up your damn mind, country boy.
Boy.
It's like we put it out there and then we reel it back so fast.
Yeah.
Instead of just putting it out there, like lean into it. It's not going to hurt less if it doesn't work out.
No, it's so true.
It's not going to hurt any less. Like, lean into it.
I love that perspective.
So
I like that perspective a lot.
what are you curious about?
People.
Yeah.
Why people are the way they are, how they got to be where they are, and how they are.
Me too. I'm
Very fascinated.
I'm nosy about your therapy.
I am nosy about therapy too. I love talking about it.
I just love to hear people's backstories and figure out what made them tick.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
me
really
too.
appreciate people a lot more if you know what made them who they are.
I fully agree with that. When you can see somebody, the wholeness of somebody, and not just,
Not just the scars, but
right.
what happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was deep. Yeah, I liked that.
What is the most beautiful part of Robin?
My desire for evolution of self is the thing that I think is the most beautiful about me.
What would you be scared to admit that you think is most beautiful about you?
Wow. Maybe.
That other one was political. Like, what can you be brave and go, I really like this part of me?
I really like that I'm a good person. That's a hard one. I'm still working on self-love.
Yeah?
And so...
What's your favorite physical feature of you?
my
like,
curly hair.
We're going to pull this shit out.
I love my curly hair.
You got cool hair.
Yeah.
You're a cool person.
I think you're a pretty cool person.
I'm really glad you did this.
I appreciate you asking me.
I love you so much.
I love you.
I'm hoping we can do checkups with Robin, and she's so funny to me. I'm such a sweet person. So, love you guys. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
This was awesome.
It was fun.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to share with your friends and family. Also, if you have comments, questions, or maybe you want to share your story, you can email me at raginghardonpodcast@gmail.com.